This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacy Cole, and Todd Michaels.
Well, good morning, America. We got some more interesting things to report to you today about Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. I mean, they're both in prison for the rest of their lives. But the new events, Chad's letters, we're going to get to some of Chad's letters. We have letter 4, letter 5, and if we're lucky, there might be a 6 and 7 coming soon. They said that he was going to be dropping new ones every single week on certain days of the week. We'll see if we get new ones as he slowly divulges his version of the story. And it is kind of fascinating. And some are like, why are you giving it credence? I don't know, because it's a crazy story. And trying to get behind the minds of some of these people is what I find really fascinating. So that's coming up. Also, Bob Motta going to be joining us in the second hour. We're going to be talking about the Aaron Spencer case. That's the father whose daughter was SA'd by a horrible, horrible predator who then got parole, showed up at his house, kidnapped his daughter in the middle of the night. Aaron realizes his daughter's gone, goes out, finds him, and shoots him. He has to literally run this guy off the road. And in an act of self-defense, and well, because you kidnapped my daughter, he shot him. And now Aaron Spencer is being brought up on murder charges. Insane. Bob has some things to say about that. So do we. We'll have all that coming up. So be sure to hit subscribe and stick around for it. But first, Todd, Stacy, are you guys prepared, I guess, for this? I know, I think, Stacy, you've heard of this. You've heard the letter. We've talked about the letter before.
Yes.
But never quite like this.
I'm so stoked. I have a little quiz that we can play later on if you'd like to throw it in.
Oh, yes.
I've got a couple of questions that we can just do a little. Is it Chad Daybell or real life? Chad Daybell or Oingo Boingo? That kind of thing. Chad Daybell or fancy restaurant. So yeah, we'll play that a little bit.
Awesome.
I'm really stoked about the fact that there's going to be a new letter coming out like weekly. I mean, So I look forward to Taco Tuesday. So maybe I could add like Daybell Thursday or something. So let me know what day this comes out on.
We should have tacos with Chad's letters. I think that should be good. Well, they so far have not really been following their release schedule. They did say something about trying to put them up on Mondays. I saw the other day, but there was no new one yesterday. Okay. So there's still only 5 up on the website. Every Monday, or planned for Monday and Thursday. So maybe Thursday we'll get more, but we did get 5 out of the gate. So maybe Chad needs to take a breather. Early.
Yeah, and if we can get a little something to get us through the weekend, that would be ideal.
I agree. But we'll get to more of Chad reading his story in just a little bit. But first, let's go to this. Now, this is a story like you've never heard in this way before. I can't tell you the amount of times we've read this letter on the air. I've lost track. Yeah. But this is now produced with music, with Chad's voice. This is something I would suggest turning on before going to bed.
Do we need to dim the lights?
Yes. Dim the lights. I tell you what, I sat on my porch yesterday with my laptop making this. And I did. I was literally on my porch making this. And I was finding the music and I was piecing it together. I'm like, yes, right there. Then we hit the one that kind of sounds like porn music. And then it hits
that's the spot right there.
So, yeah. So it's quite a production. We'll pause as we go through it and discuss. But this is the infamous James and Elena letter as written by the prophet himself, Chad Daybell. And this was originally sent to Lori via text. And I did not edit or change any of the verbiage. So when you hear weird words being thrown in there, this is Chad's writing verbatim.
Stop a second, Tony. So for those of you on YouTube, you can see this. If you're just listening to this, you're missing a huge visual here. There is a picture of, well, I'm assuming it's AI, Chad Daybell, wearing basically a suit coat without a shirt underneath. And as a woman, I feel really conflicted here.
You're turned on, aren't you?
No, I'm trying to not look at it.
Oh wait, it animates. Like once this thing starts playing, it starts moving. So yeah,
It
and
makes
so does
Chad
Lori.
look pretty good. It looks like he works out.
Does it? Or does it look like he went and got a Claiborne suit at the female section at Marshall's?
Well, a little bit of that. It almost looks like there's shoulder pads in there. So I guess maybe I need to see more of it to figure out exactly where I stand.
I think he went to Burlington and bought a female suit.
Buckle in, Stacy. This is good.
Oh no. I need a little warning for this stuff. Please don't spring this kind of thing on me, okay?
Oh, you know it. You knew this was coming. This is
not this.
Here we go. This is the letters. Here we go. This is the James and Elena letter on American Top 40.
Friday morning, October 26, driving south on the freeway. A voice said, "You will meet an extraordinary woman today who will change your life forever." This was shocking, since such a thing seemed very unlikely at this conference. It is actually a very detailed story that began long ago on another world, and I will cover that part as I go along and the characters figure things out. But on the morning of October 26th,
love letter, by the way,
James arrived in St. George, still a bit baffled by the message he had received. He unloaded his books and set up his table, then joined the organizers for dinner in the main room. He saw his friend MG, who had been so helpful to him when he spoke in Mesa that July. MG introduced James to her friend Elena. When their hands touched, he felt a shock pass through him, and his heart started beating fast. Elena was gorgeous and vivacious, and James was a little intimidated, yet honored that she would talk to him. He was happily surprised when she mentioned a key part of his novel, The Renewed Earth. No one had ever recognized the significance of that scene before. He had heard that voice before and seen that smile before. He felt they had even talked like this before, but who could be certain when? It was strange, but he could remember. Feelings were very strong, as if they had known each other oh so long. They didn't get many chances to talk after that because he had to help voice a woman's blue Muppet. But he watched her every chance he could.
I'm sorry, what? What?
Look, this is part of the joys of the Chad Daybell letter. There's shit that like autocorrect did on his phone and he never fixed. So he had to help a woman voice her blue Muppet. And I don't know what the hell that means.
Oh, no, wait, no.
Elmo's
The
red.
kids, that's what the kids are calling it these days. So
Is there anybody besides the Cookie Monster who's blue?
Grover.
Yeah, Grover.
Thought he was green.
No,
No,
that's
Grover.
Oscar.
That's Oscar the Grouch.
Oscar.
Get your
Okay.
Muppets right. Jesus. I mean,
I'm
that's
a little
really...
distracted by Chad and his chest, okay? Give me some grace right
He
now.
has no. I think he shaves it. Or do you think
That's
he's
a
just
wax
naturally hairless?
That's wax.
Oh, God.
That's got to be a wax.
He struggles to get hair.
You guys.
So yeah, I'm warning. There's going to be moments like that where you're like, "What? Like, is that a no?" This is literally his writing. He had to help her voice her blue Muppet. So,
What in the hell do you think the word was?
I could not figure that one.
I don't know. Voice her blue Muppet.
Because a lot of it doesn't make sense. And there's also a lot of points in here where he like just kind of talks about people without giving any context to like why they're important to the story.
Oh my God. Do you ever have friends who do that? All of a sudden they start
Yes.
talking about Becky and she did this and you're like, what?
Who? Yeah.
I've never heard of her before in my life.
And I always feel bad because I'm like, should I have been paying more attention? Like, should I know who this is?
Right.
And it's like,
Right.
and it's no, you really can't. I don't talk like that to people. Like, I don't just like bring people up and I'll give context. Like, my friend so and so said this, and I'll usually give too much of a backstory.
Yeah.
And but it's just like why? Okay, and that's always a weird thing. I don't get that.
So
A lot
can
of
you
people do that.
reset this for me? He sent this in a text to whom again?
To Lori.
To Lori.
To her, yeah. So this was supposed to be, and this is all came out in evidence. It was just supposed to be like this real, lovey Harlequin romance type love letter where he's basically James and Elena are these two, and he's giving them these character things, and he's actually recounting how they met, because they met at a end of the world conference.
That's right.
And this is kind of it's retelling their story with slightly different characters, and loin fire. Which when you hear that word come up in here, that's real. But he does misspell it at another point too, and he ends up saying something else. But loin fire is the word initially, and it's I don't know, it's pretty hot and steamy, everybody. So I'm just warning you.
So is he sending this love letter via text?
Yes, it's via text. Yeah. A lot of texts.
Oh my God! Thank God he's got an unlimited plan.
I mean, it's like a 30-minute text once we get through the whole damn thing. But that's all, like, I don't know how many, bloom, bloom, bloom that took to get through.
I wonder if she had an iPhone, because my battery would never have held up for that many texts.
I don't know. And this was like early on in iPhone times too. So
yeah, that's some serious battery power to be receiving text after text after text.
My mind went to, what was she doing while these texts were coming in? Because if she was in the middle, hold on, I'm not necessarily going
loin
there.
Firing is what she was doing.
No, she was firing her loins. That's the
yes, more appropriate. I'm glad we clarified that.
Yes. Okay. I was just wondering, if you're in the middle of your day and you're trying to get stuff done, and all these texts are coming through, right?
God,
more loin fire.
Another one. Oh God, now his loin is on fire. Oh God. All right, I got to get the laundry done at some point.
What's for dinner? We're gonna have pork loin fire. No. Let's continue with it.
All right.
Tibbs' house that night, but he hardly slept. He kept envisioning himself with Elena in very wonderful situations that indicated they had been more than just friends.
Oh, God.
James was the first speaker on Saturday morning and knew exactly where Elena was sitting. He made sure to mention the scene from his book that they had discussed the previous evening. He was completely smitten by her and even was nervous of what she would think of his talk as he spoke. But when he would glance at her, she was always attentive and watching him, unlike the rest of the crowd. After his talk, he went to his book table. His talk had gone well, and there was a good group gathered around to buy books. His heart nearly leaped out of his chest when Elena joined him and helped sell the books. She was so beautiful that he could hardly concentrate on the customers. She straightened the books and gave the books great reviews, although she made him laugh a lot when she kept pushing the youth and fifth volumes of his first series. He could only giggle when people asked if she was his wife, because yes, in fact, she was. She just didn't know it yet. James was definitely having amorous feelings toward Elena as they sold books together. He had not felt this happy in his entire life. He was quite sure this was the woman the voice had told him about. James was ecstatic because he had already fallen deeply in love her. Or better said, he remembered how much he already loved her. Her eyes had mesmerized him from the moment they met, but once the book sales slowed down, she stood near him behind the table. They looked deeply into each other's eyes for the first time, and he knew he was in the presence of a goddess. He resisted an impulse to kiss her, but his entire body was on fire. He instinctively knew she was everything he had ever dreamed of. I must clarify that James is a very difficult person to get information from. He has been blessed with great knowledge, but 99% of the people he knows do not realize that. He is very guarded, and it is a great task to gain his trust. But as Elena leaned forward him and asked a couple of very insightful questions, his heart burst with joy. He knew she was one of the very few people on earth he could trust. James's spirit was so excited at this revelation that he shattered a thick veil that had been placed between these two souls during their mortal lives. The thick veil had been placed because of the unique, unparalleled love James and Elena had shared in previous lifetimes. That veil had prevented them from finding each other until this appointed day that would be remembered throughout the heavens as the true beginning of a spectacular mission that would save millions of souls and defeat the forces of darkness. James' physical attraction to Elena was almost overwhelming, but he was equally drawn to the spiritual energy that was radiating from her. As they talked, it was confirmed to him that they had indeed been married before and were eternal companions. He had glimpses of them walking dusty paths together, and he realized they had been married during the life of Jesus Christ, and they had been very close to him.
Oh, God.
At this time, their spirits could not be restrained any longer, and a long-awaited makeout session took place in that lobby. This was manifest in the mortal world to James and Elena through the scientific phenomenon known as loin fire. As they talked, James had a burning desire to make love to her, but he wasn't sure she felt the same way. But they could not stay away from each other.
Stop.
One time, she was sitting in a couch near his table.
Yeah, let's stop for
and
a
he
second.
took a seat on a chair.
Oh,
The
God.
scientific phenomenon known as loin fire.
I am not familiar with that.
It's a scientific phenomenon. Apparently, you did not pay attention in class that day, Stacy.
I don't know what to say.
It was right after the periodic table of elements. It went to the loin, the LF. It's an element that very rare, and you find it only in Chad Daybell's pants, in his Dockers. That's where you find that element, the LF, in Daybell's Dockers.
Limited edition pants.
Only available at Land's End.
Yes. Oh my God.
Loin fire.
Nothing is more of a turn. I don't know. How do you, I have to be careful what I say here. Have you ever in your life done dirty talk with somebody and somehow brought religion into the dirty talk?
No,
Never.
thank God.
I mean,
No.
loin fire and Jesus came within just stanzas of one another.
It did. It really did. I think that's what makes this so weird and creepy is that it adds like extreme religious beliefs into some sort of, sexual encounter. and them having makeout sessions in the temple or God. Yeah. Well, let's continue on and learn more about loin fire.
God.
About
I need to
5
know.
feet from her. She began to squirm and covered her body with her hands. She asked him, "What are you doing?" He wasn't aware of what she meant. All he knew was that if Bruce Porter hadn't been giving them an evil eye, a child would have been conceived on that couch. The erotic tension continued throughout the afternoon. James could only think of her. His desire for her was indescribable. Thankfully, she had worn 16 layers of clothing to survive the 80-degree weather, so he was not fully aware that she truly had the body of a goddess. Her dimensions were exactly what he had always fantasized about, but that revelation would have to wait a month. As the night concluded, James needed to take his empty boxes to his car. With Elena's help, he had sold more books at a show than he ever had before.
So many.
She helped him carry the boxes to the car, and then he could not resist the desire to hug her. He made an awkward attempt that was way too brief, because their friends were bringing more boxes. In that short embrace, though, he knew he had found the woman he had searched for his entire life. It was made crystal clear to him that they had been married before and would be again. He once again had to fight off a powerful urge to kiss her and somehow disguise the massive erection he was experiencing.
Okay.
They returned to the building, and he held
Later.
Are you leaving? Where is she going? Oh my God.
I tell you what, fucking Bruce Porter. God damn that Bruce Porter that was giving him the evil eye. Otherwise, they would have made a baby on that couch.
He's always around when you don't want him, that freaking Bruce.
God damn Bruce.
I need to go turn the air conditioning on. I'm having a hot flash and I'm really concerned.
I wonder if Bruce, when he heard this letter, was like, oh, that's what they were doing.
Oh, gosh. We've lost Stacy. She's dead. Boom, boom.
Bruce Porter. Bruce Porter. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Bruce Porter. Do-do-do-do-do.
Oh my God.
Let's listen to more Chad.
Carry tables to the second floor while she sat on the couch. They couldn't take their eyes off each other. He was already madly in love. Her group of friends finally had to leave. He was devastated, unused how he would ever contact her again. Then her spirit took over and asked him, "Can I get your cell number in case I have some questions?"
Just in case.
They exchanged numbers, and then they gave each other a hug goodbye. It was the most wonderful, electric, delicious hug he had ever felt. Then he watched her walk away, knowing she was truly going to change his life forever. End of chapter 1. Chapter 2. James sadly walked to his car after watching Elena disappear down the hallway, but he couldn't deny their connection and his absolute attraction to her. She still seemed way out of his league, but he nervously sent her a text before driving to his hotel. A minute passed, then 2, without a response. He kicked himself for thinking he ever had a chance with her. Then his phone buzzed. Elena had texted back. His heart soared, and over the next few hours they texted back and forth dozens of times. He knew she was staying at a home in Tokerville, and he desperately wanted to drive there and whisk her back to the hotel for a night of reconnection and romance.
Best
He
Western.
twice got redressed during the night to go see her, but the spirit gently said, "Have patience. Everything will work out as it is supposed to." They finally stopped texting at around 4 a.m., and when he closed his eyes to sleep, he was taken again to their previous life together. The intense passion of their lovemaking was as sight to behold. He knew it would be difficult, but he could be patient if it meant he could experience that type of love just once in his life. As he lay in the hotel bed, it was as if her spirit had joined him. They wrapped around each other and kissed gently, then intensely, and the emotions they shared were not of this world. James woke up in the hotel room feeling happier than he had in his entire life. It felt like he and Elena had fit together perfectly in every way. He rolled over to kiss her, but then reality struck. He was actually more than 20 miles away in Tokerville with her Arizona friends. He texted her, and she quickly responded. He deeply regretted not going to be with her the night before. It was as if he already knew the taste of her lips, and his hands knew every curve of her body. He knows his dreams were somehow real and that they were actually traveling to each other in a higher dimension. He hungered for her in ways he didn't think were possible. The voice was right. Elena was going to change his life forever. He packed his suitcase and began driving north on the freeway. As each mile passed, James could feel Elena's spirit beckoning for him to join her. As he approached the Tokerville exit, it took every ounce of willpower to keep driving on the freeway. His attraction to her was beyond magnetic. He felt their souls were two halves of an eternal union. Tears filled his eyes as he passed the freeway exit. He desperately yearned to embrace her and tell her he deeply loved her, as crazy as that sounded. But he knew he would be seeing her 3 weeks later at a conference in Arizona. It seemed like an eternity away, but he sensed it would be a very significant weekend for them. He already was crazy about her, and his feelings of admiration and affection for her would only grow more intense and wonderful. During his long drive home, James was able to text back and forth with Elena, and it was clear they were extremely compatible and shared the same interests. It felt like talking to a long-distance best friend. When he arrived home, he searched the internet for anything about her, but there was nothing.
Stalking.
She was a fascinating mystery that he wanted to spend the rest of eternity with. At the end of his drive, she suggested that they talk on the phone the next day. He was thrilled at the thought of hearing her voice again. He was falling more madly in love by the minute. When James heard her voice that Monday morning, the euphoria he had felt Saturday came rushing back strongly. They talked for 2 hours, but it seemed to be only minutes. He was obsessed with her and couldn't get enough. During that first phone conversation with Elena, James realized she already had a strong understanding of many of the truths he had been taught regarding how the universe really worked. The lounge fire and obsession with each other had no real explanation unless they truly had a spiritual connection before this life. He was able to help clarify many of the promptings and impressions she had felt in recent years. She knew she had lived on Earth before, and James was able to clarify when. They had been married before on this Earth and other times on a previous Earth. Their love truly spanned the universe and eons of time.
Not
They
delusional
knew the
at
Lord
all.
had brought them together again for a crucial mission that only they could accomplish as a united couple. During the next week, they spoke every day for at least an hour, but often longer. They hungered to know everything about each other.
Hunger.
This was a new experience for James to open up and share the true feelings of his heart, but he knew he could trust her completely. The bond between them was intense, and only the vast distance between them kept their passion for each other from roaring into a blazing inferno.
Roaring.
She quickly became his best friend. Or better said, two best friends had reunited, and their prior love was now ignited again in a wonderful, heavenly way. As November began, James and Elena had talked on the phone every day since last seeing each other. He was extremely impressed with her intelligence, personality, and subtle humor that made him laugh more than he had in this lifetime. She was a complete delight to talk to, and the highlight of his day was when he could hear her magical voice. It was so familiar to him, and it actually healed and soothed his heart and soul. They would both attend the same event in mid-November, and it seemed like that day would never arrive. Each day they opened their hearts to each other a little more. James knew he could trust her with the mysteries of the universe that had been revealed to him. He knew they had been married before, and they had been close friends with the Savior when he lived in Jerusalem. James had served in an important position in the Lord's church, and Elena had been his beloved spouse and best friend. That relationship was now meant to continue in this lifetime. In Jerusalem, James and Elena had enjoyed tremendous intimacy. Their physical desire for each other was unmatched, and they were fortunate that they could be alone morning, noon, and night, and they seized every chance to passionately express their love to each other. They simply could never get enough, even after many years of marriage. Everyone knew they were crazy about each other, and they were a wonderful example of how spouses should cleave together in love and unity. James had visions of how they would happily and joyfully pleasure each other in his office.
Oh my God.
They had two favorite positions that particularly bonded them together. Nothing meant more to James than holding Elena in his arms and unifying their bodies in perfect synchronization. As James and Elena talked on the phone, he tried to delicately describe their connection to each other, and he was delighted that she believed him. He also shared that they had been married other times on a previous world, and she accepted that information as well.
Let's pause for a
James
second.
was overjoyed to have these memories restored.
The voice from above would like you to pause, Todd.
Satan says pause.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here, and in my mind, I'm a big game show fan, so I'm going, the password is cleave. Bing. I've never heard that word used in that way. Ever. Cleave.
A lot of words he's using in ways that are not how they're supposed to be used, but he likes to insert them. It's like Mad Libs almost.
God,
The
this
way
is so disturbing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He rambles on, and the story is the story, blah, blah, blah. And then it just always gets, even for a dirty letter, it gets freaking gross. I mean, it's just...
Yeah.
Here's what I mean, it's hilarious because it's so screwed up. But what I'm wondering about what's going on here in this letter is he's trying, like, in his mind, he's trying to woo her. And I think they're both nuts. But I think part of his wooing is manipulating and constantly telling her what she wants to hear over and over and over. And I'm guessing at some point in this relationship in real life that they have, she has some desire to believe that they were married in a past life. Because if there's any phrase that comes up in this thing on a crazy frequent basis. It's they were married in a past life. They had this in a past life. They were together in a past life over and over and over and over. I'm guessing it's just repeating it more and more. So she believes it more and more. And it's all like a ruse to like get her in bed, because clearly that's the goal of this insane letter. But he's speaking to the weird things that speak to her and I think speak to him too in a lot of ways.
I was just going to say, I think it has a lot to do with how he thinks things need to be for this to be right, to almost come up with a reason why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
So if they were together in a past life when Jesus was around, that would feed his need to make this seem okay.
Then it's totally okay that his wife dies and that her kids end up dying, because look, they were tight with Jesus. You know, they used to go over there on Wednesday nights and
this was meant to be. This was,
I think you're right. Let's keep going.
All right.
To him because he truly loved her with all of his heart. He knew they were meant to be married again and complete important missions together before the second coming. He was ecstatic that she was receiving confirmation of these things as well. As they talked on the phone, the spiritual connection was so intense that it also produced physical desires, and it was as if their spirits were making love despite the great distance between them.
Sweet.
James knew his spirit was visiting her during those conversations. He also became aware that his spirit would visit her at night, and they would wrap around each other in a sensual embrace. Kissing her was so wonderful and real, and he knew that the next time they saw each other, he needed to kiss her. He wouldn't be able to resist holding her. He was absolutely in love with her in every way. By the time the conference arrived, James and Elena had become very close through their phone conversations, but he desperately needed to see her again. She agreed to pick him up at the airport and take him to his hotel. He was extremely nervous, worried that the spark they had felt earlier might not be there. But as she arrived at the airport and he opened the car door, his heart nearly burst at the sight of her smile. She was stunningly gorgeous, and as they gripped each other's hands, the electricity was tangible. The love between them was powerful and real. The hotel was only a short distance away, and he invited her into the room. They were soon standing alone in the room, and he put his arm around her and looked into her gorgeous blue eyes. They hungered for each other, and he leaned forward and fulfilled a promise he had made to her a few days earlier. He gently kissed her tender lips, and the same heavenly electricity filled his entire body. The passionate magic they had felt many centuries earlier came surging back powerfully. James moved to the couch, and Elena straddled him effortlessly, as if they had done this thousands of times before. She fit perfectly on him, and they pressed their loins tightly against each other. The feeling was exquisite. They both smiled and moaned at the sensations passing between them. They were still fully clothed, but the intensity of the intimacy was undeniable. James felt the powerful desire to bless Elena at that time. As they stayed in that favorite position, he moved his hands to her head began to cleanse and purify each part of her body. He could feel the pains and troubles she had endured throughout her life, being removed from her soul and being taken outside and destroyed. James's hands worked their way down her body and lingered briefly on her beautiful breasts. She truly had the body of a goddess, and he was experiencing an indescribable mix of physical and spiritual ecstasy.
Okay, I gotta stop.
Yeah, go for it.
I cannot. Here's the thing. I am not a prude in any way, shape, or form. Right? There are things about myself that I would never, ever share with anyone in my freaking life. But here's one thing I do know. That part of me does not want Jesus anywhere near that part. So, like, while this guy's sitting there talking about having relations with this woman, he is going to bless her. He's going to anoint her.
In their favorite position.
In their favorite position. And I'm sitting here going, I don't want any religion anywhere near that part of my life. Like, that is the part that truly Satan can be around if he wants, because that's what, but not Jesus.
You're breaking out the crucifix midway. Hang on, honey. Let me get something out of the drawer over here. Oh, what do you got? holy water and a crucifix.
Yeah, right. Like, what's the disappointment on your face when that happens?
What?
Because you're hoping it's something else. Jennifer said, "Poor Todd, you look embarrassed." Yes, I am.
Well, can I just throw this out here for a second? Let's take the murder out of this, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
What if these are two people who have found each other and everything just is clicking and working, and oh my God, they are falling in love with each other?
Okay.
It happens. And this wasn't ever meant to be out in public. This is between them. So part of me is just like, I'm kind of sad for them and embarrassed. I mean, again, take the murder out of this, because you put that in and the whole thing is, it's a different story. But how many people have not these conversations, but these feelings where, oh my God, I feel like I've known you my entire life, kind of a thing?
Well,
absolutely. I get that.
That's normal.
I get that.
But you don't usually bring up loin fire in those conversations.
Yeah, but what if things are getting a little hot and steamy? I mean, and he's not a very good storyteller.
And the Son of God rarely comes up in conversation unless it's at that pinnacle point of the connection, of the cleaving.
I have not been cleaved recently, Todd.
Well, that's another whole episode where we can work on getting that done for you. But now that I think of it, I haven't cleaved in a while either. So
you gotta get the crucifix ready. You gotta have all that ready for the loin fire when you cleave. Because
my goodness.
Otherwise,
Oh, God, you guys.
There's more.
Okay, let's go. Stand by.
He soon concluded the cleansing of her body from head to toe, then filled her body with a balm of light and love. James could see the happiness in her eyes, and instinctively their mouths came together again. The fire was burning strongly within them both, and as their kissing grew more intense, he gently said, "I love you, Elena." Those words sparked a frenzy within them, their tongues effortlessly entwined, and their hips gyrated in a smooth, erotic rhythm. Two lovers, long separated, were finally united in heavenly bliss. After a few minutes of excitement, pleasure, and fun on the couch, James and Elena both felt compelled to change into more comfortable clothing. James out in some athletic shorts and a blue shirt, and Elena put on a stunning black top and tight leggings. The top revealed just enough, but not too much, and James was overjoyed at the sight. James took her in his arms, and they smiled at each other. The vibration in the room was intense, and their hearts reached out to each other in a glorious reunion. James gently touched the sides, if Elena's breasts, and he was in ecstasy. She stood on her tiptoes and gave him a sensual kiss that sent electricity throughout his body. They moved toward the bed and were quickly entwined.
I'm just wondering if their favorite sexual position was missionary. I don't know.
And enchanting that James could hardly breathe. They were both aroused, but knew there were limitations on what could occur that night. But they kissed for nearly an hour and pressed against each other tightly. Toward the end of the evening, Elena lay on her stomach at the end of the bed, and James caressed her fabulous body. He grasped her perfect bottom with both hands, and she expressed how much she loved that. She soon sat up and straddled him again as they passionately kissed farewell. They knew they would see each other again in the morning, but the separation seemed too long. But they knew that the long wait to find their eternal match had come to an end, and James was overjoyed beyond description. James and Elena had agreed to visit the temple the following morning. She returned to the hotel room, and after additional romance on the couch, they calmed their nerves enough to give each other a blessing. As James placed his hands on her head, he connected with Elena's true eternal self. He knew he was in the presence of an exalted goddess who had returned to Earth to perform a special mission. This mission included being with him, and they would progress together as translated beings. The full plan wasn't yet completely clear to him, but the immense power radiating from her confirmed his belief that she was among the greatest women in the universe. She then gave him a tremendous blessing that helped him realize how much she truly loved him and wanted to be with him forever. He was deeply humbled that such an incredible woman regarded him so highly. His heart burned as she blessed him, and he had glimpses come to his mind of not only their life in Jerusalem, but even as a couple on a previous earth. He knew they had been eternal companions for
Are these
eons,
all euphemisms,
and
by
that
the
their
way,
love was
blessing and stuff
beyond
like that?
celestial.
I don't know.
They embraced following the blessings, and the emotions they felt were a mixture of eternal bliss and celestial desire. The sexual chemistry was undeniable, but the spiritual unity was a glorious bonus for them both. They had only known each other for 3 weeks, but two lonely, misunderstood souls had finally found their best friend that they could trust and confide in. They arrived at the temple, and they both felt they should do sealings together. They were soon seated in a sealing room, facing each other.
Hell's that?
Elena looked so stunning as she smiled at him.
It's
She
like
seemed
a-
calm, while he felt quite nervous. Their opportunity soon came to kneel across the altar from each other, and as the sealer pronounced those sacred words, James and Elena knew that they were now sealed as husband and wife for eternity. As the earthly sealing was taking place,
Oh,
a
yes.
similar scene involving their
earthly sealing.
spirits was happening on a higher plane, where they kissed and unified their souls. They knew they had just begun a new journey together that was eternal and never-ending. After the sealing, they went to lunch together, and they felt so comfortable together. Everything felt so right. James could look into her eyes forever, unless he was gently kissing her and telling her how much he loved her. Even when they held hands, there was a powerful vibration that exceeded the celestial world. They attended the conference, but their thoughts were completely focused on each other. James gave a talk that was well received and sparked great interest in his books.
I bet Tammy Faye Baker's listening to this in heaven going, Jim never did this for me.
All they really wanted was to slip away and express their love to each other. They went to dinner with some friends, but afterward they were able to find some time alone. They drove to a secluded area and slipped into the back seat. Elena was wearing a pair of incredibly sexy jeans, and as she straddled James in the back seat, he once again grasped her fantastic bottom. She pushed him back into a reclining position, and their loins fit perfectly together.
Bless it.
They kissed passionately and rhythmically pulsated against each other. Their love was intense and undeniably real. James was now madly, crazily in love with her, and it was so wonderful to know she felt the same way about him. One powerful moment happened earlier that day when Elena was listening to another speaker while James stayed at the table. But he thought he heard Elena say, "Come stand behind me." He went into the room and saw her standing against a wall. He moved behind her and they discreetly touched. After a few minutes, he checked his phone and saw she had texted him that very sentence. At the stone, he heard her voice. It was a wonderful testament that they were already communicating with each other on a higher level. They helped clean up the conference, and Elena graciously allowed James to stay in a spare bedroom at her home that night. They visited with other friends until after midnight. Then they all went to bed. James anxiously hoped Elena would join him in the spare room. It took a while for everyone to settle into their beds, but once the house quieted down, James opened his door slightly and saw the wondrous sight of Elena approaching the room. They locked the door behind her and quickly got under the covers. He was wearing his athletic shorts, and she was wearing tight, thin leggings and a loose top.
Oh, God.
They clung to each other and kissed desperately, hungrily. James placed his hands under her top and caressed her splendid breasts. She moaned happily and wrapped her legs around his waist. Only two things, layers of material, separated their loins, and they could feel each other's most intimate body parts in detail. The
We need a
intensity
loin
and
count
spiritual
is what we need.
vibration exceeded anything either one of them had ever felt before. They knew their spirits were actually intimately joined together, and it felt like they had left the celestial world, Elena soon got on top of James, and the rhythmic ecstasy continued for several more minutes. Toward the end, they both removed their tops, and they pressed their bodies together, skin on skin. They fit together perfectly, and their kisses were deep and frenzied. Their desire for each other was beyond compare. As the reunion in the spare room came to a conclusion, Raphael knew Elena was his perfect match. They longed to stay entwined together, but it would be best to separate and get some rest. But by 6 a.m., James couldn't stand to be away from her any longer. He slipped into her bedroom and stood at her bedside. She was unbelievably gorgeous, and he greatly desired to join her in the bed and continue the previous night's activities. But there were other guests in the house who weren't yet aware of their sizzling love for each other. So he gently touched her shoulder to awaken her. Her eyes opened, then she reached up and grabbed his arms to pull him into the bed. He smiled, realizing she wasn't fully awake and had likely been dreaming of him. He simply whispered that he loved her and hoped she would go walking with him through the neighborhood. James and Elena had enjoyed a walk together the previous morning along the quiet streets of her gated community. The sensual attraction between them had been intense, and they had touched shoulders and held hands as they walked. They were like magnets that couldn't be separated. She had worn exercise leggings that drove him crazy with desire. The leggings emphasized her perfectly sculpted bottom, and it took all of his willpower not to pull her to him and grasp that bottom firmly and powerfully with both hands while kissing her passionately. They went walking again that next morning. Unfortunately, a friend invited herself along, but James and Elena were still completely engrossed in each other. He had to catch a flight home later that morning, but he was able to give Elena a special blessing before departing. As he placed his hands on her head, he felt their spirits connect with a surge of power. At that moment, his only desire in life was to be with her as always throughout eternity, and that desire has continued to intensify. During the blessing, he was shown the great missions they would perform together. He knew this was an eternal union that would forever change the world. Tears filled his eyes to be in the presence of this holy goddess, and he was nearly overcome by the spirit as he sensed her true place in the universe as a majestic archangel. End of story.
Okay, can I share something that happened here?
Yeah, please do.
As he was talking about caressing her breasts, yesterday I had a dishwasher leak, and since I moved out of my home of 20 years for some other known reasons that we won't go into, I now live in an apartment. So I am broadcasting from my kitchen. I have a very big kitchen, and my dishwasher is across the way. So maintenance showed up as we were doing this.
Oh, God.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, two guys are right across from me listening to this whole thing. And I'm like, sorry, guys. Sorry. I don't know what they're going to go back and tell the landlord now what I'm doing in here.
Oh, like this morning they're listening to this right now.
Yes,
That's why you were getting, oh, God.
Yes, I put in a work order yesterday because I had water flooding on my floor from the dishwasher. I didn't know they'd show up now, but of course they would. Yeah. So as he's talking about her voluptuous breath, they're over there dealing with the dishwasher, and I'm just sitting here going, "You guys, I'm really sorry." So they're probably going to get back to the office and go, "She's doing porn in that apartment."
I know Tony's going to have to start looking for a new place for you, like right away.
Oh my God!
You can't. We do a podcast. This is a crazy person. Okay.
Well, when I opened the door, I said, is there any way you could come back? Because I'm live on air right now. And we're talking about something really, really graphic. And they're like, no, we just really need to do this now. I'm like, okay, it's really graphic in there.
I wonder if they got to hear about the balm of light and love that he gave to her.
I don't know. I kind of just passed out a little bit for a second. Like,
I would too. I can't believe how horny this guy is. Holy crap. Like at some point, don't you finish? Aren't you just done?
Well, apparently he has a balm of light and love.
The number of times he said bottom was interesting. Loin, obviously. What was another one?
Well, some guys are ass men. That's okay.
Gyrated.
We should get him a thesaurus because I feel like he's a bit limited.
Yeah, he could use Grammarly.
Yes. I wonder if they have that in prison.
I feel like he randomly goes to a thesaurus and just inserts words at certain, because it's like very plain, and all of a sudden like big word, and then it just kind of keeps going, and then big word, and it's weird how they're inserted.
Please don't use the word inserted.
He inserted his balm of light and love all into her body.
I think, Stacy, did you hear my great line about their favorite position was probably missionary?
No, I think the maintenance people were. I was messing with them for a few minutes,
and they're wearing the whole Mormon get-ups too, while doing the missionary. Because really, this is a lot about dry humping. The entire thing is really.
Again, making it okay for him to do this, right? Yeah. It's making it okay that they didn't go all the way yet.
Yeah, it's all justifying it. It's there was another person who, in case you can't get enough of them, maybe you'd like to go to song. Another fine woman years ago released all sorts of lovely records about this. Tammy Faye Baker, by the way.
There you go.
We have some of her records.
What are you doing with that?
This is a Tammy Faye Baker record right here. And this is even better. This one has the whole family on it. So this is Jim and Tammy and the kids. You can make it, Tammy sings. And here's Tammy in workout clothing on the backside. So I think maybe she was there was a little bit of conjuring images of Tammy in that letter, I think.
I'm never going to look at you the same way again.
She's on a phone on the back. She's on a phone, right? She's calling God. Is that what it is?
Oh, that's headphones that she's wearing down, okay. And she's got like a sweatband on.
Olivia Newton-John look.
Yes, very much so. Yep,
very
that's exactly what she's doing.
84. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I got these at an antique store a couple weeks ago, Stacy, and it's actually the second time they've made an appearance on one of the programs. we brought them on the Real Ghost Stories online a couple weeks ago. Because I and look, I don't know if everybody noticed this. Jim Baker, there's a parrot on his shoulder.
Oh God, a little Jimmy Buffett style.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
I saw them. I'm like, oh my God, that's just so absurd. I have to get them. So
sometimes that's what you see when you go into those stores. Something that's so crazy, I must have it.
I saw him like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I know I'll have a use for it. And so far it's been brought on the air twice. They just sit on a shelf right over there.
Hang on. There's one more thing you need to do with it,
Play it and dance and have a party.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
We need a record player in here to do that.
Do you not have one?
Well, not in this studio. No, I don't.
Okay, well.
I have one upstairs.
I wonder if you can find them on Apple Music.
Oh my gosh.
There goes my playlist for the week.
Add it to your playlist. Yeah.
Tammy Faye. It's here. Yep, it's here.
Well, now you can listen. And
get
all the Tammy you want.
Report back to us on that, would you please? I want to know what you think.
We have a call number 4 and 5. Todd, how long is call number 4?
4 is 15 minutes.
Let's do call number. Yeah. Let's do call 4. Bob's going to be joining us in just a little bit talking. We're going to talk about the Aaron Spencer case, but he knows all about this case too. So I'm sure he'll have some interesting insights if he's joining us on the back end of this. Let's listen to this. This is again, letters from Chad. This is new. This is just came out last week. This is his letters from prison to the world, telling his side of the story. Not quite as steamy, but kind of interesting. Let's take a listen. This is letter 4.
Begins with a key event in my life that occurred in 1987. Early in my LDS mission to New Jersey, I was part of the first group of Spanish-speaking missionaries called to the New Jersey Morristown mission. We would be sharing the gospel message in some rough urban areas where LDS missionaries had rarely ventured before. My mission began with 9 weeks of training in the Missionary Training Center in Provo, Utah, after which our group of 6 missionaries flew to Newark International Airport. We soon met our mission leaders, Dan and Barbara Workman. We immediately felt their love and concern for us, which continued throughout my life. Thank you, Sister Workman, for your recent letter I received here in prison. Even now, you show such Christ-like support and care for your missionaries. I'm grateful for you. The next morning, President Workman introduced me to my first companion, Elder Hansen, who would function as my trainer during my first couple months in New Jersey. All male LDS missionaries use the title of elder, while female missionaries go by sister. Elder Hansen was a confident Californian who spoke fluent Spanish, while I was a timid teenager from a small town in Utah. He was the right companion to help me cope with the culture shock I was experiencing. Our proselytizing area was the industrial city of Patterson, and I soon learned the citizens weren't always friendly. As Elder Hansen and I walked through the city on the way to an appointment, I waved to a man sitting on a porch step. About 15 seconds later, a couple of apples came whizzing past our heads. Then a block later, I waved to two young boys, and they both threw a glass bottle at me. I decided waving to people might not be the safest thing to do. To reach our appointment, we had to walk through one of the city's most dangerous areas. Ahead of us, a gang of teenagers was taking up the whole sidewalk. I was praying hard for protection, and somehow we made it around them with only a few snide comments. I didn't wave. We finally reached our destination and knocked on the door several times, but no one answered. I suddenly felt exasperated and overwhelmed, and it must have shown on my face. Elder Hansen stuck his index finger in my chest, pushed me against the wall, and said, "Don't start having doubts, man. You know this is the true church and that Joseph Smith was a prophet. Are you going to let a bunch of losers on the street corner change your mind? I thought you were bigger than that." Then he started walking back to the street. I was humbled and humiliated, but I caught up with him. We didn't say a word to each other, but he had made a good point. An image of the Apostle Peter denying Jesus Christ came into my mind, and I suddenly felt very ashamed. When we reached our apartment, I went into our tiny bathroom and said a fervent prayer to Heavenly Father, apologizing for my weaknesses. Then I gave thanks for the prophet Joseph Smith, and suddenly my mind opened up. It felt like I was actually witnessing the first vision, when Joseph, as a 14-year-old boy, saw and talked with Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ. I felt the Spirit of God burning within me, and I knew without a doubt this event had really happened. That day I had experienced fear, exasperation, and even doubt, but then I received an outpouring of truth and comfort. We had a bold, powerful group of missionaries, and we accomplished much good in that area. Elder Hansen and I eventually became close friends, and after our missions, we stayed in touch. He later moved to Colorado, where he became a successful businessman, and he and his wife raised a beautiful family. Why did I share that experience with you? Because from that day on, I have been completely devoted to the LDS Church. I have served in many different callings, including being part of 4 different bishoprics. During that time, I was asked to assist with several church disciplinary councils that were held for members who wanted to clear up misdeeds in their lives. These meetings usually began with some awkward feelings, but I was amazed to watch loving church leaders turn the meetings into positive spiritual experiences. Expressions of support would be given, tears would be shed, and the person would feel a sense of relief, like a great burden had been lifted. It was inspiring to watch a humble church leader help a person who felt desolate and alone regain hope and faith through the atonement of Jesus Christ. With that background, it is true I am currently excommunicated from the LDS Church. Sadly, I didn't receive an opportunity to have a compassionate church leader hear my side of the story. I would have happily welcomed a visit from my church leaders during my 4 years in the Fremont County Jail, but no one ever came. Instead, I learned I had been excommunicated through the mail more than a month after the disciplinary council had taken place. At the jail, the deputies would put any mail addressed to me in a big manila envelope, which was held until my attorney's next visit. He and I would then sort through the mail together. When he visited me in September 2020, we emptied the manila envelope, and among the letters were 2 envelopes from my LDS church stake president. my local leader. I'd had a good relationship with him over the years, and I initially expected these envelopes to contain letters of kindness, support, and encouragement. However, I opened the first envelope and read a printed form letter informing me a disciplinary council would be held regarding my church membership. It felt like an arrow had pierced my heart. I took a deep breath and opened the second envelope. This letter said the council had been held and I had been excommunicated for apostasy. The letter stated I had 30 days to appeal the decision, but by that time the deadline had already passed since the jail had been holding my mail. I have still never found out what evidence was presented in the disciplinary council or who testified against me. The church scriptures known as the Doctrine and Covenants explains excommunication procedures in depth. Section 102, verse 18 reads, "In all cases, the accuser and the accused shall have a privilege of speaking for themselves before the council." That obviously didn't happen in my situation. I would love to know what transpired in the meeting, but the church has resisted my efforts to obtain the records. I readily admit I have many flaws and weaknesses that I am striving to overcome, but I'm not guilty of the great sins attributed to me. The thought of associating with apostate groups or teaching false doctrine is absurd to me. Please at least let me know the specific doctrines I was supposedly teaching. Who are my accusers? When and where did I say these things? So for these reasons, I still consider myself an active member of the LDS Church. My excommunication process didn't follow scriptural guidelines, and apparently no effort was made to verify I had received the notification letters. At the very least, I deserved a chance to talk to a church leader in person and answer any accusations of misconduct. I have never felt a decrease in my priesthood power or a loss of the influence of the Holy Ghost. I have actually felt an increase in those areas, which has been a great comfort and blessing as I deal with my current circumstances. I fully support the LDS Church's first presidency and the quorum of the 12 apostles. I follow their teachings, and I am working out my own salvation through the power and grace of the atonement of Jesus Christ, my Savior. In conclusion, let me return to Elder Hansen, my first missionary companion. When he heard the news that Tammy had passed away, he canceled his busy schedule and rushed from Colorado to Springville in time for her viewing and funeral. When I saw him walk into the viewing room, my heart filled with gratitude and appreciation for this great man. As he came through the viewing line, we embraced, and I knew one of my true brothers in Christ was there to support me. We took a few moments to catch up, and he humbly told me he was serving as an LDS stake president. I wish he had been mine. Bookshelf. I have had a lot of heroes in my life, often from the world of sports. I've always been a fan of BYU's basketball and football teams, and I was in my early teens when the Cougars were really hitting their stride. Danny Ainge led the basketball team to the NCAA Elite Eight, and the quarterback factory kept churning out superstars such as Jim McMahon and Steve Young, who would both lead NFL teams to Super Bowl victories. But my ultimate hero is Joseph Smith, after Jesus, of course. When Joseph was an obscure teenage farm boy, an angel appeared to him and told him his name would be known for good and evil among all nations. Persecution intensified against him and his family, and it never let up the rest of his life. Supposed friends repeatedly betrayed him, and he endured dozens of arrests on false charges, spending many months in dark, damp, squalid jails. Yet he somehow maintained a positive attitude and accomplished incredible feats. He translated the Book of Mormon from ancient records and founded the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He revealed many profound eternal truths and designed new cities, yet made time to raise a good family and care for his church members. Sadly, his persecutors finally succeeded in their goal when Joseph was brutally murdered at age 38 by an angry mob that stormed the jail in Carthage, Illinois. The church has published a 4-volume history titled Saints, and the first volume covers the life of Joseph Smith. The book reads like a novel, but it is all true. If you want to read about a great American hero, give Saints Volume 1 a try. You'll also gain an appreciation for the pioneers who later crossed the plains and established Salt Lake City in the middle of a wilderness. Musical notes. When I was an LDS missionary in the late 1980s, we weren't allowed to own electronics, especially radios. According to the missionary handbook, popular music could potentially drive away the spirit. That might be true, but in the big cities of northern New Jersey, missionaries didn't need a radio. We were literally surrounded by every type of music. As we walked along the main boulevards, the traffic would cruise past us at a decent speed, but it felt like we were listening to one continuous radio broadcast because every vehicle was blasting the same station. Over and over we heard, broadcasting from the top of the Empire State Building, you're listening to Z100. Sometimes it seemed like Z100 had captured 100% of the listening audience. About 2 weeks after I arrived in New Jersey, and shortly after my humbling experience described in the letter, Elder Hansen and I were invited to attend a wedding. It was for a couple that Elder Hansen had known earlier in his mission and would take place in Jersey City. President Workman granted us permission to attend as long as church members gave us a ride to and from the wedding. I was excited because I hadn't yet been able to see the Manhattan skyline up close. Elder Hansen said we would be a few blocks from the Hudson River with a nice view of the Twin Towers. Elder Hansen had arranged for a young couple from the Jersey City ward to pick us up outside our Patterson apartment. My eyes nearly popped out of my head as a very fancy sports car pulled to a stop in front of us. Elder Hansen smiled at me and said, "Climb on in." And we are both tall, so it was a tight squeeze for us in the small back seat. But we were soon zooming down the freeway, and I was eagerly soaking in the sights. I enjoyed seeing Giant Stadium for the first time, and I listened in as Elder Hansen chatted with the man who was driving. Then as we got closer to Jersey City, the woman in the passenger seat said, "Sorry to interrupt, but I love this song." She turned up the volume on the car's excellent sound system, and I recognized the voice of Whitney Houston, who had dominated the airwaves throughout 1986 and 1987. But this song was new to me after having been sequestered in the missionary training center throughout the summer. The woman began dancing happily in her seat and started singing along animatedly. It was quite a show. Then, when she reached the chorus, a lasting memory was imprinted into my brain. "I get so emotional, baby, every time I think of you. I get so emotional, baby. Ain't it shocking what love can do?" At that moment, I caught a good glimpse of the tops of some Manhattan skyscrapers, including the Empire State Building. Suddenly, I was the one getting so emotional. It was the equivalent of a spiritual experience as we entered Jersey City, where I would be transferred a couple of months later. In this city, I would later meet amazing people and witness literal healing miracles. But in that instant, I just basked in the wonderful realization that it was possible to have fun, joyful experiences on a mission and throughout our lives. So whether you like the song or not, I consider Whitney Houston's "So Emotional" to be a sacred hymn. I don't expect it to be included in the new LDS hymn book, but it would certainly add some life to our sacrament meetings. By the way, if you happen to cross paths with some LDS missionaries, please give them a smile and a wave. It just might be what they need. You'll make their day.
Smile and a wave, and then you break in. I get so emotional, baby, every time I think of you.
Oh,
Bob
God.
Motta, a defense attorney, joining us, host of the podcast Defense Diaries. Never thought you'd get an intro like that, where we're jamming out to "So Emotional," did you? I don't have any audio from you, Bob. I can't hear your mic.
I think we
There we
should
go.
sit down after that beautiful performance there, Tony.
Thank you.
What else do we need really for the day?
Yeah. We've actually made the full playlist now for the Chad Daybell letters, because he has a musical notation in every one of the letters. I don't know if you had a chance to sit down and read the letters yet, or maybe, get the kids bedtime stories, just an idea, I've been doing that with Harper lately. It's like, okay, honey, it's time for a Chad Daybell letter before we go to bed.
I'm calling CPS, man. I am calling CPS.
Oh man,
She's been sick the last 2 days. So I was blaming allergies, but it might be, upset stomach after hearing the Chad Daybell letters. So what we've learned so far is Chad's into Depeche Mode, Oingo Boingo, the B-52s, Keen, Tim McGraw, and Whitney Houston.
Wow. Quite a list.
He has eclectic music taste. I got to give him props for that.
I give Brad or Chad or Frad. What is his name?
Chad Daybell. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I give him zero credit for anything. He's a moron. That man has way too much time on his hands. Is this what we can expect now? Deep Thoughts by Chad Daybell. Is
it's
that
literally
like getting?
Literally, there is a website that his daughter, I believe, is helping run. It's called lettersfromchad.com.
Wow.
And every week we're supposedly going to get new letters from Chad that he's telling his side of the story, along with little stories like it being in a taxi listening to Whitney Houston. Things we needed to know about Chad Daybell.
Parabels, if you will.
Parabels, yes. Parabels from Chad Daybell.
I like it. I like it a lot.
There you go.
That we can prop him back up and make some money off of the profit, Mr. Chad Daybell.
Profit off the profit.
So that was letter number 4. We'll do letter number 5 tomorrow, and maybe there'll be a 6. I don't know. We'll have to see if Chad keeps providing these for us. But that's the Daybells.
All he's got is time.
He does.
Always got it. He'll be writing away.
And
what would you do in prison? I don't know what I would do.
That's what I mean. He's got nothing but time.
Yeah.
They're searching. They're searching.
Yeah, it's Chad. He's sitting there.
Has that been in any of the letters yet? I haven't listened to any of them. Did he explain what he meant by they're searching?
He has not gotten that far yet. Wow. But he has explained some of their romance and how he didn't kill his wife. And I did bring this up. I did bring up, what if Chad really didn't kill anybody? Was he just there? Was he all part of the conspiracy? Did Alex do all of it? I mean, Chad certainly had knowledge of what the hell was going on.
Right.
Well, but did Chad actually put his hands on the kids and kill them?
I don't know.
Did he put his hands on Tammy and kill her? Because the story is they went to bed and then they got up and she's dead. But I do wonder, because Alex Cox is in the area too. Like, did Chad, was he out? Did he take some Ambien? Did Alex show up with a pillow and asphyxiator? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of weird possibilities in this whole.
Look, man, if he didn't do it, it was a really, really bad idea to allow JJ and Tylee's bodies to be buried on his property.
No, completely.
Right.
To be hands clean of the situation, you probably shouldn't allow for the desecration of 2 beautiful little kids to happen on your property, because you know what that makes you look like?
A murderer.
Yeah, that's
Or did he not know? Did he just suspect that is he the Wendy Adelson of this story, where it's just like, I kind of might have allegedly known, but I didn't know, and we don't really know. We can't really say for sure. Is he that character where he's just completely aloof to this? These people are doing all these horrible things around him, but he just wants the Lori and cannot and is willing to do anything for it, and then look the other way to everything too. I don't know. I mean, it's a weird idea. I'm playing devil's advocate for the most part on that.
Yeah.
I don't know. There is a universe where that could possibly be what happened, but not very likely. We're going to go over to the Aaron Spencer case now. This is something we've been talking about on and off for a little while. I know you've been following it a lot, Bob. Aaron Spencer, for those who are just new to this, a father in a small county, Llano County in Arkansas. The subject of this, the other central figure in this, a man named Michael Foster, who's 67 years old, who had been charged with multiple SA offenses, including allegations of grooming, child, material, and SA related to Spencer's 14-year-old daughter. So he's already been charged with these offenses against Aaron Spencer's daughter. Well, the judge releases him on parole And what happens? Well, one night, Aaron gets up, sees his daughter is missing. What happened? Well, good old 67-year-old Michael Fossler, who was released from prison, showed up and kidnapped her. Dad, Aaron, gets in the truck, chases him down, literally has to ram them off the side of the road, gets out, weapon in hand, because you don't know what you're walking into. Somebody just kidnapped your daughter. The guy who's already been charged with essaying your daughter has kidnapped your daughter. Well, it doesn't end well for Mr. Fossler. He ends up getting shot by Aaron Spencer. And I think to most of the world, we'd say, yeah, I'm surprised that's all that happened. I'm surprised you're not in 42 pieces. But he's dead. And now Aaron Spencer is being charged with murder. That's the nuts and the bolts of the case. I think I did it pretty well. What's the latest on where this is all sitting right now, Bob?
So a couple of things that I just want to add to your synopsis. He was actually out on bond. Okay. So he had picked up 43 charges ranging from SA to the CSAM to the stalking. And this judge, based on these 43 charges ranging from felonies to misdemeanors, decides to give him a $5,000 bond. Okay. And so, and again, just to like restate the fact that all of these charges are related to Aaron Spencer's daughter. Okay, so what had happened is he had groomed her. He had kind of set sight on her through a mutual friend to both the Spencers and Michael Fossler. And the Spencers weren't aware that this guy was around their child at the time. So time goes by. She makes an outcry. Okay. And she says, look, this guy has essayed me on multiple occasions. They bring her in for a CAC interview. It all tracks. They arrest Fossler. This judge gives him a $5,000 bond. That is 3 months preceding the shooting. Okay. I want to disavow any concept that this was some kind of, vengeance killing or he was a vigilante. Because like if he was a vigilante, the minute that guy walked out, he would have seen fit to go.
No. This guy kidnapped his daughter in the middle of the night at his house. Yeah.
Correct. So we don't know how she got out.
Yeah.
Okay? We don't know if he went into that house. We don't know. We do know he was communicating with her again, despite the fact that he had a stay away order, not only from the daughter, but the entire Spencer family and the house. He didn't care. So he starts communicating with her again, the child, who's 14 at this point. So let's just get the 67-year-old creep and the 14-year-old kid who he has groomed to the extent that she has made outcries as to the essays that have been happening. He is charged. He's released on a $5,000 bond. He sees fit to start communicating with her again and gets his predator claws right back into this child. And whether he draws her out of the house, I don't care. I don't care whether he went into that house and kidnapped her or whether he lured her out. Either way, the 67-year-old man got her out of that house. The dog wakes up the Spencer family. Both Aaron and his wife, Heather, are walking around freaking out. They don't find their child. Aaron jumps in the truck. He finds this guy in pretty short order and he's waving for him to pull over. The guy won't pull over and runs him off the road. At that point, Spencer's screaming for his daughter to get out of the truck. She's not getting out of the truck. He's screaming at Fossler, let my daughter out of the truck. He gets out of his truck. And I'm talking about Michael Fossler. Some kind of interaction takes place and Fossler ends up dead. And at that point, Aaron Spencer calls 911 immediately, says, I shot this guy. He had my daughter.
Yep.
They then subsequently charge him with the murder. And, this is a case that we're following very heavily. I'm very, very passionate about this case. And that's why it's important for us to make I want to distinguish that this is not vigilantism.
Not at all.
Different.
No.
This is, Tony, I don't know what you do. I know you have daughters like I do.
Yeah.
If somebody snatched one of my kids, if a known predator who is already just abused my child is let out on bond and then gets his claws. I am assuming with these charges still pending that my kid is not coming back alive.
So
I am assuming that I have to do whatever I have to do to get my kid. And I would have done the exact same thing that Spencer did. And
can I interrupt you a second, Bob?
Of course.
So I don't have any kids, but I understand the mama and papa bear instinct.
yeah,
What's happened here, anybody who has children and those who don't can even nod their heads and go, I get exactly what he did. Yes, he killed somebody, but this is a father protecting his child. Is there any provision in the law that will allow this man to not spend the rest of his life in prison for what he did?
yeah. And it's under Arkansas law, it's defense of others. So it's because it's a better argument for them than say self-defense because
Correct.
frankly, the only eyewitness to what happened is the daughter. And, the concept of re-traumatizing her, making her have to get up on the stand and basically testify against the man who had groomed her in order to save her father's life in terms of him going to prison is an awful situation. I mean, in my estimation, this case should never have been brought.
Yeah.
The county attorney down there is of the mindset, look, this is a case we have to let a jury decide. I disagree wholeheartedly. But the self-defense claim would be tougher because you don't know exactly what happened. And frankly, I wouldn't want to get into the kind of the swampy area that would be in terms of whether or not Aaron Spencer's mindset was that he thought that he was going to be either seriously harmed or injured or killed in terms of measuring whether or not his response to what Foster was doing was appropriate, thereby him shooting him was justified. Instead, I'd be focusing completely on the fact that I did what I had to do in that moment because my daughter wasn't getting out of the truck. This man was coming out of the truck. He appeared to have something in his hand. I wasn't going to wait around for the police to come because as far as I'm concerned, this is a guy who came to my home, took my child out of her house, out of our house, no matter, and I don't care how it happened. This guy did not care. And if I didn't do something at that moment in time, this guy was going to get back in that truck with my daughter in there and take off. And one way or another, this thing was going to end the way that it ended because I wasn't going to let this man kill my daughter, which is exactly what I would be thinking. I mean, this guy had nothing to lose at this point. He had 43 charges pending. He was a former cop.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this guy knows better. This guy did not care. He had zero regard for the law. He did not care that he had a no contact order with this family at all. So for me, where it's standing right now, the defense has filed a motion to dismiss. I don't have the current state of the law in Arkansas, which is pretty shocking, Tony, considering that's where you live.
Yeah.
It's the only state in the union whereby a county attorney or a prosecuting attorney could go in and essentially unilaterally with full autonomy go in and file charges, not having to go to a grand jury, and you don't have a right. It's solely on an information. And just so people understand, an information is where either the cops or the prosecuting attorney write up a statement of facts. They submit it to the judge and they say, okay, in your state, and they say, okay, this is what we got. And the judge says, okay, you've got enough to get an arrest warrant. You have no right in Arkansas to demand either a preliminary hearing where you can challenge that or a grand jury. So, I mean, you have a situation in your state where a prosecutor has unfettered power to go in on it strictly just an information and get people charged with crimes. And that is terrifying. That takes away. There is no checks and
That's
balances.
spooky shit.
Isn't it?
It is. And the problem with the motion to dismiss is it's saying that is bad law. We are the only.
Well, it's
state in the union.
unconstitutional.
It really is. I mean,
Feels
where's
that
the
way.
due process?
Yeah.
So, I don't think that it'll succeed at the trial court level.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think it's something that has to get looked at either by the Arkansas Supreme Court or the U.S. Supreme Court at some point. But sadly, that would only occur if Aaron Spencer is convicted. I mean, that's when appeals happen. You don't get appeals, but that's how you change the law. Like the law as it's currently situated in Arkansas is not going to support this judge saying, okay, yeah, you're right. This is bad law. I'm going to dismiss the charges. And even if they did, this guy could turn around and try to go to a grand jury. The problem for the prosecuting attorney and the way that he did it this way is you are not getting citizen grand jurors that are going to hear the story and are going to say, yeah, we're gonna true bill him. We're gonna indict him with a true bill because
doesn't that DA have a choice though? It's not like his hand is forced here and I have to charge this guy. It's a choice of that person's level. It's their judgment call to say, no, I'm not gonna prosecute this.
He's 100%, Tony. He absolutely.
Then why would anyone try and prosecute? I mean, what on earth is going on that one would think this makes a lot of sense here?
Well,
I don't quite get it.
Killed somebody. So I mean, that's probably where they're coming from.
But is it like I mean, obviously everybody's different how we look at things. Is this DA someone who is, just one of those procedure folks? Like, we're going to follow procedure no matter what, no matter how insane, the actual reality on reality's terms is telling us, but by the book, we got to go this way. Is it as simple as that? Or is there something else going on here?
It's hard to know because two other little factoids that I want to bring up is the very judge that let this guy out on a $5,000 bond is the exact same judge who is sitting on Aaron Spencer's case. So that to me is incredibly disturbing. And when she got Aaron Spencer's case within weeks, she put out this gag order that was insane.
Yeah, what was that? Let's talk about that a little bit too.
It gagged everybody. It didn't just gag the Spencers, the parties. It gagged the world from talking about this case. It was so brutal that the defense said, okay, we're appealing this gag order because it's absurd. And they went up and appealed it to the Arkansas Supreme Court. The Arkansas Supreme Court agreed wholeheartedly that this is just an insane gag order. You can't gag the world from talking about this case, and of course they removed the gag. They just flamed through her opinion. They also pointed out dude, everything about this case just drives me insane. Yeah. So it turns out that she had taken the gag order from another case from a precedent wherein that had been also overruled by the Arkansas Supreme Court, and she cut and pasted the language from the offending gag order and used it as her template for her gag order. So the Supreme Court of Arkansas noted that and said, wow, it's like the amount of time that it took you to review the state's order or the state's motion rather was shorter than the amount of time that it takes to make a pot of coffee. So you put no real thought into this and you just issued this gag order. And in the opinion, one of the justices said, look, not only do I think that this judge ran afoul of the law here with this gag order, but I think that she needs to be removed and a new judge be put in place. And unfortunately, that wasn't the rule of the opinion because it wasn't the judge who had written the opinion. All right. So it was another judge who had written it. And man, it's just a case that if you care about the state of the world, if you care about, your kids, it's one of those cases that resonates with you. I'm a father of 4. Yeah. Like, as soon as I heard about this case, I'm like, man, this is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And this isn't, who's the guy who shot the kid? The guy who had molested his son. He was waiting at a phone bank. He was in custody. Gary.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah. I can't think of the name.
I always forget his name.
Way back.
Way back. Like, that was vigilantism.
Yes.
Like, that was a situation where, this guy saw an opportunity when they were transporting that, that alleged criminal, and he took a shot. And he made it,
Sure.
This isn't that. This is a completely different set of circumstances as to why this prosecutor is proceeding on it. I think it's probably what Stacy is saying in his estimation. This is a case that's got to go to a jury. You know, maybe he's of the mindset, look, no jury's going to convict him, but I still have to go through the process by which 12 citizens are coming back. But, you know, that family having to go through the trial
and drag this family that's already been victimized. Now the system's victimizing them. That's incompetency on the part of the prosecutor. That's incompetency, idiocracy. It's all of the above. And here's the thing with a lot of cases like this, and it's easy to go down the route of, was something being covered up here? Is there something else on this other side of this that this doesn't look right? So many times the optics of things like this, when they get really, really crazy, incompetency can look like conspiracy. It can look like cover up. But is this one of those things where they put the gag order in place right away because it was like, oh shit, like we've already screwed this up from the moment it started? If we gag this, can we quiet this down? Can we maybe somehow make this get better, but obviously you just made it worse? Is this the system and those within it trying to cover up for one's mistakes, and then, oh, well, then that makes this one worse, and now we're so dug in here, we got to keep going to this? Because we've seen that before, where they'll just dig in till, you know, they cannot no longer dig in anymore, and either they win or they don't. Is that what's happening here?
I mean, with the gag, yeah, I think that there was such a public outcry, you know, and if you, like, they've got several, there's a Facebook page, you know, in support of freeing Aaron Spencer. There's, you know, funds that have been raised for his defense. You know, there's a huge public outcry that's very much in support of Aaron Spencer. I think that the state was obviously well aware of what was going on in their own community in terms of their constituents and in terms of the citizens in that county. They're like, what are you doing? Yeah. You know, so I think from their perspective, they wanted to silence it. They wanted to silence the noise and just let the process take place. Yeah. And, you know, let it see where it lands. But the fact of the matter is you don't get to silence citizens. That is in direct violation of First Amendment rights. You know, can you gag the parties? Sure. Can you gag the attorneys? Yes. Can you gag the world at large? Absolutely not.
Is the system, I mean, are there just too many people in the system that don't quite grasp this concept yet? That it's not, you know, you're not just, I mean, you shut up the parties and things like that. Okay, great. You shut them up. You're no longer just like waiting for Dateline to take your story. You're no longer just waiting for like one of the few news magazines that used to exist to take you up. You now have a gazillion of us out there. Yep. Who can very easily put a big spotlight on a specific story. Are they just incompetent? Is there just a lot of people that don't quite grasp that this is how this works now, that you can't brush this stuff under the rug the way you used to?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems that way, you know, but they're going to learn in short order. You know, I mean, if they're ignorant to the fact that podcasters and YouTubers are out there and that we're doing the work. I mean, we're doing the investigative reporting that, you know, used to exist in our country through mainstream media, legacy media that really doesn't anymore. And we've picked up the mantle, you know, and we're not going away. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, I can assure you, I'm going to be down in your neck of the woods, getting people's ass about this case. And, you know, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be shouting with the bullhorn about this case because I feel that passionate about it, you know. And again, it all goes back to, do I think the system needs to run its course most of the time? Yeah. Sure. This ain't that.
This ain't one of them.
You've got this family that's gone through the tragedy and the trauma of having their daughter just absolutely abused by this guy, and the system failed them. You know, I mean, he didn't do anything about it initially, Aaron Spencer, where I think that there's a pretty strong argument that most fathers and mothers, for that matter, would want to take matters into their own hands, and you have to talk me off the ledge to let the process take place. Aaron Spencer tried that. Yeah. And I'm talking about after the outcry. Yeah. And he said, you know, like whatever he was feeling, whatever way that he was feeling was justified. And whether or not that was like, I'm going to go take care of this shit myself. Mm-hmm. You know, whoever talked him off the ledge, whether it was his wife or a group of people, I don't know. Yeah. But what I do know is that he allowed for the process to happen. And what he saw is that Fossler gets arrested, okay? But then Fossler's out on a $5,000 bond with 43 pending charges, and then proceeds to violate the no contact order, starts communicating with his daughter again, and lures her out of the home, and has got her out of the house at 12:30 at night. I mean,
it's pretty clear cut. Like this is insane. I mean, does the prosecution actually think this is a winnable case, or is this just about like just flexing control than it is actually about justice?
I don't know, man. Like, I'd love to have that prosecutor on live and ask exactly that question, because I think the answer is going to live in the neighborhood of what Stacy was talking about, that there's a process here that, in our estimation, somebody's life was lost. It was at the hands of another, and it's up to a jury of his peers to decide whether or not he was justified in his actions. And I'm going to go through the process. And, it's just, that's not taking into consideration the fact of the amount of trauma that this family has had to endure leading up to this entire scenario. I mean, everything that they had to go through up until and after is just unthinkable. I mean, that family sitting there, and I want to be clear, Aaron Spencer's out on bond.
Yeah.
And this is hanging over their heads every second of every day of their life. Their life is in limbo right now, not knowing what's going to happen to Aaron Spencer.
I'm going to ask this. I don't know the answer to this question. I'm just asking the question. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but is the system here, is this county or something there, is the DA, I mean, by going after him and hoping to get a conviction, I mean, you wouldn't charge somebody unless you want to get the conviction. You don't just do it for fun. Is there any way, shape, or form here that if they had him locked up, that would prevent, I don't know, them going after the city for some reason, or the department or something. I'm thinking like Stephen Avery-ish, where like in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, where they charged him, he ends up suing the city for $1 million, wins it, and then they end up charging him with another crime.
What an interesting thought, Tony. I mean, that's. I mean,
is it kind of that? I mean, in a different way, where we fucked this up over here pretty good. Oh, well, you did this, so we're going to get you, because if you look over here and figure out how much we screwed this up, you could go after us for this. But if we charge you for this, that's not going to work out that way, because we're going to get you over here. I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there, not accusing anybody. I'm just saying it's one of those roads of like, I'd be interested to look down that as what's motivating everybody here, because that's the biggest thing. Is it's easy to say, well, this is crazy, that DA's nuts. What's the motivating factor?
Yeah.
What is that motivating factor? Is it just following the rules, or is there something else at play?
I mean, look, at this point in time with the state of our society, I don't disregard any concept.
Yeah.
And you and I talk about this all the time, man.
Yeah.
I am not a huge conspiracy guy. Conspiracies are really difficult to keep secret, which is,
I mean, that's what makes it hard. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if there's a lot of people involved, the odds of all those people keeping their mouths shut is slim.
Right.
And, I mean, but this thing with this guy's law enforcement background, and, people have been reaching out to me because we've been covering it pretty heavily.
Yeah.
And there's allegations out there that this is Fossler's MO. And I'm talking about the victim here, that this child was not the first person that he had.
That's what I'm.
And that's the thing. You don't just wake up one day and decide you're going to do this.
It's 67.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, yes.
There's a pattern here. I can tell you that. Yes. I don't know that, but you don't just wake up and go, I'm retired. What should I do with my day? Well, here's what I'm going to do. No, there had to have been some escalation here. I'm sure we're going to find out more.
It's a pattern, certainly with him. This is not happening in a vacuum.
Right.
So we know that, and have that many charges against you. Yeah, you've been doing this for a while. You've had other victims.
Yeah.
So who else is going to come forward? And the other part about this, and it's the reality, these folks don't tend to operate just by themselves. They end up, they're not, it's like lone wolves. They have their little circle, their little ring. And that's where I'm wondering here. It's like, well, is there somebody else, other people in the system, that if we start digging too far over here, we're going to start seeing some other things poking out of the dirt. And we're going to go, oh, I didn't know you were part of this too. And that's why let's get him put over here. Let's get him shut up as quickly as we can, because yeah, this person did this, and clearly we're gonna that's out in the open. But what else is this gonna knock up when we completely dig him out of his hole?
Yeah, and it's not too dissimilar from some of the rumblings we're hearing in the Mickey Steins case.
Yes, same sort of thing.
Same kind of thing. And, obviously a lot of us are thinking some nefarious shit was going on in that county, and who was involved is a question that is yet to be determined. But hopefully that comes out as we progress through that case. You have to wonder if there's something similar like that going on here. The interesting part of this case is that, when you think about Aaron Spencer's trial in and of itself, in terms of his mindset, okay, and when you're talking about defense of another, the mindset of the person that is the one who pulled the trigger or ended the other person's life, or whether at a battery, whatever the case may be, whatever happens, you have to look at their mindset in terms of what they knew at the time. So say, for instance, if 10 people come forward and say, yeah, well, Michael Fossler, when I was a kid 30 years ago, he did the same thing to me. This guy's a predator of the apex variety, and he's a monster. Yeah. And none of that's going to factor in. None of that will come in at trial because it's not relevant to Aaron Spencer's mindset at the moment in time. Sure. I mean, they're going to be limited to, but there's more than enough in terms of what Aaron Spencer knew going in. He knew that his daughter was a victim. He knew that that Michael Fossler had been charged with 43 different counts. He knew that Michael Fossler had somehow sunk his claws back into his daughter, and he knew that Fossler had gotten her out of the house. And he knew that these charges were pending. And who's the only witness to what happened with regard to those 43 counts? His daughter. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're thinking logically, and if you're thinking about somebody who apparently doesn't care about the fact that there's a stay away order, that's just a piece of paper that's not stopping me from doing anything. Because either he's so compelled to get his claws back into her in order to essay her again, or essay her and then kill her, or abscond with her. Just, you know what I mean? Whatever the case may be, that guy was unhinged. And so, that's what Aaron Spencer would have known at the time that this went down. Was Fossler an officer in the same jurisdiction here where this took place? No, I think he was a cop in Indiana. Okay, so it wasn't years prior.
I would be curious to see what else could come up in his background. Were there any disciplinary actions? What do his colleagues have to say? What do the women around him have to say? I think there's a story here that hasn't been tapped into yet. Stay tuned. Exactly. I'm taking a trip to Indiana. I'm doing some digging.
I would bet there's a lot of cases around him that disappeared.
Raise some eyebrows.
Yeah. I mean, what we should also be talking here about why he was even out on bond. I mean, why did a judge allow this to happen? We see it obviously so frequently. We had the Haro case where the DA was like, no, this guy should not be out on bond. But obviously, or on bond or bail, I forgot on that one. But you have another one here, 40 some set charges. The kid's still in the county. I mean, this guy, he has a pattern of behavior. Why are we letting these people out? Dude, look, I mean, there are constitutional provisions and rights that we have in terms of a reasonable bond being set, but there are safeguards in place. Yeah. And one of those being that this, like, flight risk wasn't really the thing with him. Is he a threat to public safety? And when you're charged with these types of crimes, there's a strong argument to be made that he should have been issued no bond, because he is very much that in terms of what he is accused of doing. Yes, he's presumed innocent, but there was enough there in terms of the outcry and the factual scenario that was laid forth by the child in terms of what had happened with this guy, that there was enough to charge him with 43 counts. So, it had passed that type of muster. And, you see it all the time in murder cases, right? You see, well, look, this defendant is presumed innocent, but
these are very serious charges, and I'm not willing to put that person back out into society because of that potential threat to public health and safety. And I'm going to keep them in on a no bond. So not only did she not make it like a high bond, I mean, she made it $5,000, which, he's getting out on that. Like she knew he had, like, that he was going to get out on it. It's inexplicable to me, and then to have her be the presiding judge on Aaron Spencer's case is so disturbing in so many different ways, because she's got to answer for that at some point. You know what I mean? It's like
going to make her answer for that, though. Who has the authority to do that?
No one.
Exactly.
She's just accountable to herself,
right?
But apparently that's not going to be the case. So, is it society? Is it the community that steps up and says, "Hey, get your shit together. This is not okay"?
Well, yes, and you do that multiple ways by making sure. And I do not know, Tony, in your jurisdiction, whether judges are appointed or they're if they're elected. I don't know. If they're elected, you get her ass off the bench. The next time she's up for election. The judicial board, the board of overseers for judges, it's really tough to get a judge off the bench.
Sure.
But the thing that we have going on here is when you really look at who was responsible for the gag and why it happened, you have to look no further than that woman sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that she wants the world talking about the fact that she let this dude out on a $5,000 bond?
No, but why would you do that to begin with? I guess that's where I go to the motivation of it to begin. Like, what is the motivation? Like, you are not going to be criticized in any way, shape, or form for keeping that man behind bars. There's no one that's going to go after you and say, well, that was really harsh. I can't believe that you kept that man with 47 of these charges behind bars. What on earth is motivating you to go, $5,000 bond? That seems like that's a great idea. This isn't going to look bad on me or anything, because you can't think that this woman's sitting there going, I wanted to release a sexual predator into my community. This sounds like a fun idea because I'm an evil person. That's not how that person, I'm sure, is operating. No. So how is that person operating? What is the incentive? Is there, and sometimes people make really dumb choices for really dumb reasons that have nothing to do with public safety, but more so sometimes infrastructure, like housing. Is there an issue here with, is there an incentive not to get people in that jail? Like, is there a reason, it costs too much? It's this or that. We don't want to fill it up. We don't want to have this on I don't know. Are there any other possible messed up other reasons sitting over here why she would have made that choice other than going, she wants predators in their community, which that I just don't buy that.
I mean, if there's a viable explanation, I can't think of it.
I can't have it either. Yeah.
I can't.
Or she wasn't paying attention that day. I mean, other gross incompetence.
Yeah.
I mean, that man's death sits on her head. There's, and whether or not, if you're an eye for an eye person, then, you're probably fine with that. But this guy should have been incarcerated up until trial and, let him have his day in court and, let the chips fall where they may, but that's not how it happened. And there's really only one person to blame for it. And it's this judge. And like you said, Tony, I have no idea what her motivation was. I mean, that's an awful bad day. Like, if you're just having a bad day and this one slipped through the cracks.
Yeah, I mean, are you just not pay? Okay, well, let's just get this. I mean, I don't know. There's so many of these cases where you look at it and you go, oh, the judge is not inherently evil, but why? There's not the only thing this would look much better if they made this other choice. It would help them. They're making choices to help these predators, and it also hurts the judge in terms of image and optics. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's not a good look for the judge. And I'm sure that Fossil's attorney, when he was arguing for bond, or she was arguing for bond, was saying, look, this guy's former law enforcement. He's got no criminal history. And, he's denying the allegations, so based on those three things, he's a member of the community. He's well liked by people, all that same shit that you hear all the time in terms of bond hearings. Yeah. And, maybe she just didn't have the foresight to be like, okay, well, there's probably a really angry father out there. and or didn't understand the depths and the level of grooming that was going on with this kid, man, because that's what this thing boils down to. Like, people that don't understand grooming, because anytime I see in our chat when we're covering this case, somebody's like, well, how did she get out to the car? And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. When you ask that question, that tells me you don't understand grooming. You do not understand how grooming works.
Yep.
Or you've been so groomed that you are that clueless about it too.
Well, but she's also young. I wouldn't give her the expectation that she would have a boundary here, because this man has crossed over all of her boundaries.
Yes,
exactly.
He doesn't know who to trust at this point.
That's what grooming is when it's a kid.
Exactly what it is.
Exactly.
So who knows what he lured her out with?
Right. I mean,
matter.
The fact is that we know, in terms of whatever their relationship was prior, okay, and despite the fact that she made an outcry, that he had ingratiated himself in her life enough to where she felt that she had some form of relationship with this guy.
Yeah.
He had garnered trust with her, and he was probably showering her with affection. And I mean, I have no idea what was going on with the Spencer home in terms of, like, what is Aaron a huggy, affectionate dad?
Kids can be manipulated. Yeah, I mean, anyone can be manipulated, but especially young girls young children can be manipulated. That's why we have these fucking cases, unfortunately, because people do this to kids because they're kids.
Exactly.
And he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew as he was crossing over that line exactly what he was going to get.
Right.
And if it wasn't going to be her, it was going to be somebody else.
Yeah.
He was going to find somebody. So this man knows the rules. I'm sorry, the lines are not blurred here for him, especially being in law enforcement. Fuck you.
So 100%. What's next? What's next for Aaron here? I mean, I know, what's going on here? What's the next steps?
So right now, where it's at, that motion to dismiss, I think, was filed about 3 weeks ago. There's going to be a hearing on that, and it is set for a trial date late this year or early next year. I can't remember if it's kind of mid-December or if it's early January. There had been a trial date set, and Spencer's attorneys asked for a continuance of it. That was granted, so it kicked it. It was actually supposed to be taking place in October, the trial. That's got pushed down the road a little bit. So, I mean, it's going to be going to trial in pretty short order. And, like I said, I'm not optimistic that the motion to dismiss is going to be granted.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it was granted and the judge was of the mindset, okay, like, this is my make good on this, I'm going to dismiss these charges. The prosecuting attorney, unless she were to dismiss it with prejudice, the prosecuting attorney is going to have the ability to be able to go into a grand jury and try to get an indictment there. Whether or not he'd be able to.
Why?
I don't know, man.
Why even eat a little crow? Look, we fucked up. We acted, for whatever reason, we acted this way. Upon further review, no. That was just wrong.
Yep.
Eat a little crow. Have a little humility. It's okay. Life goes on. People will respect you far more for that rather than digging your claws in for the next however long this is going to take. And you will destroy any bit of reputation you have if this is the hill you want to go die on.
100%, man. And so we had Amanda Knox on yesterday, and we were talking exactly about this concept of prosecutors, and apparently not just in this country, but worldwide, that just don't have the ability to say, you know what, I got this one wrong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's like that concept of them having to die on every hill that has ever been, and especially if it's a hill that's been climbed before them. Like, they weren't even the prosecuting attorney, but it was merely that office, and you're 20 years down the road, and you've got some subsequent prosecutor looking at the case, and if they're looking at it objectively and like, this is kind of fucked up, this guy, or you see it even where cases have been exonerated, and these prosecutors are still saying, nah, still think they got the right guy. I fuck with you. And I'm
do. There's so many docs I watch where it's like, I'm the prosecutor. They're in the nursing home, and like, we had it right back in 74.
I don't understand it. I don't,
because people don't like being wrong.
So
and
what?
I completely agree, but so many people can't like, and I get, if you're going into that job, you want to be very confident. So it's good that you do have people that will just go and all out and still believe believe whatever they're going to believe. But it's not a strength of the human species to admit fault.
But Tony, you nailed it when you said, look, people are going to respect you more, not less, when you have that mea culpa where you're like, you know what? I screwed this one up. I'm devastated by it. I'm so sorry that I stole 20 plus years of this person's life. I wish that I could turn back the hands of time. I cannot. I was presented with the facts and evidence and the way that I saw it at that time. This was the culprit. I went in good faith. I really believe that this person had committed the crime. I have been proven to have been wrong about that. And for that, I apologize to that person, to his family, and let's move on. I think people would look at that and they'd be say, all right, I can respect that. I mean, we're all human. We all make mistakes. There's no shame in that. At least own it. I respect the fact when somebody's going to own a mistake a hell of a lot more than if they're not willing to do that.
100%.
We're not in a place where it's about getting to the truth. It's about being right. And being right doesn't mean you're actually at the truth all the time either, because that side thinks they're right and that side thinks they're right. The truth is somewhere over here. And this is that should be the goal, not just whatever I said first is right, because a lot of times it's not. That's just, And I know it's a muscle that needs to be exercised. We'd be in a much better place in our world if we could do that.
Indeed.
Such a fascinating and horrible case. Of course, we'll keep following it, and I know you're following it. So everybody can check that out over on Defense Diaries. Of course, wherever you get podcasts, YouTube, just search the Defense Diaries podcast with Bob Motta, and you will find that. Bob, as always, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Hey, I have a request for next week. Let's dig a little into the Austin Drummond case. You look at that one. It's
I've been in it. Yeah.
Weird one, man.
It is very weird. The man who claims he's a secret FBI informant.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
You guys not do a little cosplay here? I mean, as soon as we're off the air, I go find my cape and come on.
I've run it by 2 FBI agents now going, is there any way, shape, or form this guy's an FBI informant? The answer is no. But it's a weird case. There's a lot of weird things to talk. So yes, next week let's talk about that Austin case.
Yeah, and what would be cool? I'd like to get one of those feds on, because I'd love to probe them onto that. I don't find it so easy to dismiss, because that whole informant game, especially on the federal level, is different.
Let me see if I can get Robin on at the same time.
That would be awesome.
Perfect.
And
suggest that
would be a good back and forth there.
Yeah, because that case really has my mind racing.
Yeah, it does.
I'm not so quick to, because when you listen to his audio when he makes that strange call into the reporter from that local media outlet, and he keeps saying, "Please fact check me on this. Please fact check me on this." And it was funny because I was just coming back from interviewing an old Louisiana attorney that's a legendary guy. He's had some incredible cases and clients. And one of his clients was this guy, Barry Seal, who, if you've ever seen the movie American Made, which is with Tom Cruise, and it's about that pilot who becomes a drug smuggler, that's based on Barry Seal. So Barry Seal was his client. And I heard all of these stories about him being an informant after he got picked up down in Miami. And he was really, really helping the feds nail some really, really big fish in terms of running drugs for them still after the fact as a confidential informant. Yeah. He was probably the biggest asset that the feds had in terms of the war on drugs down there. He was this close to getting Pablo Escobar. They got him on a smuggle deal, but they couldn't extradite Escobar back to the States. I mean, and so ultimately you have 2 cases going on simultaneously. Down in Louisiana, the feds down there did not know what that Miami division was doing at all, and that it was an asset over there. So within the same agency, you have the left hand not knowing at all what the right hand is doing. And ultimately the judge down there, when he gets arrested on some bullshit, like some just like penny ante drug charges, but they had invested $200,000 in investigating this guy. We're getting him. Yeah. But somehow there's some communication that takes place, and they're like, okay, this guy's an asset for us. That's what they're telling the Louisiana division, the Baton Rouge division. And they're like, okay, he can't go in. Like, you got to give him probation. So there was like a backdoor deal to give this guy probation. However, the judge on his own accord said, okay, well, I'm not happy about this because this guy's a real blight on society. He's putting drugs on our streets. I hate this guy. He should be in prison. I'm going to give him the probation. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make him stay in a halfway house. His lawyer, the guy I was interviewing, sitting there, okay, well, you're now issuing him a death sentence. This guy is an informant for the feds, and he's trying to put away big fish cartel guys. They're going to kill him. Needless to say, the judge does what he's going to do. He puts him in the halfway house, and Barry Seals is assassinated within 2 weeks of being in there. So point being,
could have
happened. I understand what Robin might be saying. I'm going to have a little pushback.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, is it possible? Yes, without a doubt. Probable? No, but that's not an absolute no either. Yeah. It does happen. Is Aaron Spencer that guy? Probably not. But it is worth the conversation because there's a lot of weird things in this case that are worth discussing, whether it leads to that or not, but just trying to figure out who the hell is Aaron?
I guarantee you because we've dug pretty deep into it, and I guarantee you by the end of that live, you're going to be like scratching your head because I guarantee I'll put some shit out there that you're going to be like, oh, I wasn't aware of that. Especially,
I agree. I mean, I was saying Aaron Spencer there. I meant Austin Drummond. But
I knew exactly. And like, I'm not saying that Spencer I'm doing the same shit. That Drummond's not the same guy, or that he isn't the guy at all. But I'm just saying, it seems like there's a lot of layers to the onion that need to be peeled back.
This is a weird onion, without a doubt. It's really a weird onion. Really, all right, we'll do that next week on Tuesday. We'll see if we can get Robin to join us.
Crazy shit goes on in between, which,
man, who knows?
I've had enough.
I've had enough of it. Just want to go back to where, it felt good talking about Chad Daybell today, which is insane because it's horrible.
Isn't that insane? Yeah, it's crazy. And honestly, I got a note from my landlord, so we'll see if I show up tomorrow.
Oh, you got a note from me. So, Bob, you weren't in here on this. So we were listening. I've recreated the James and Elena letter from Chad Daybell, the love letter, and it's on YouTube now. And but I have it in Chad's voice, and I have all this sort of sexy music behind it and everything. So we were listening to that, and at the same time, I was like Barry Manilowing it, where it's like.
Barry Whiting it.
Barry White, not Barry Manilow.
Barry White, loin fire.
Yeah. And all this is coming out of her speaker this morning while people are trying to fix her dishwasher. And they don't know.
They didn't tell me when they were coming. So at the time when we were talking about Chad admiring Lori's voluptuous breasts and
baby.
Just across from me, because I'm in my kitchen because I recently moved. So 2 maintenance guys were working on my dishwasher, and I'm sitting over here. I muted my mic, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, you guys. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry," because they're being violated. Yeah, and they're probably thinking I'm some porno person in the apartment complex now.
That's awesome.
I'm not. I'm in true crime. I told the guy this when I was renting the place. So
you know what would have made amazing content is to get those two guys on video, watching that whole thing play out.
Can we just get your reaction?
Stacey, reaction.
What did the note from your what did the note say from your landlord?
Well, I just saw that I didn't read it. I saw it popped up in my email. So I haven't read it. It might just be that the work order is complete.
Probably.
I hope it's more. I really do. I hope it's more. And that becomes kind of like a little bit of an addition, a little bonus content at the end of the next Chad Daybell.
Well, this will be a tease for everybody. I will reveal it if it's some sort of disciplinary action of some
There you go.
Tune in tomorrow to find out what it really said.
There you go.
I love it.
And on that note, let us know your thoughts in the comment section wherever you're watching or listening to us. Be sure to press subscribe as well so you don't miss any of the things that we talk about in the stories we cover for you here at the Hidden Killers podcast. For Bob, for Stacy, for Todd, I'm Tony Bruschi. We will talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.